The optics of Obama
Oh, yeah.
was great.
Moments where we wish that he would represent us better, fuller, stronger. He didn't have that innate ability to begin with. We all acknowledge the fact that President Obama, though he was our first black president, he was not a descendant of our society's culture, of black Americans.
Of those Africans who were a part of the 1790 constitutional experiment. No, he was not.
Where do we go from here?
So one of the things that I did in response to this whole idea of Oprah running for president is to go back in American history and let's see how many other African Americans set their sights on the White House.
Cool.
So when we observe a timeline of African American presidential candidates, the first one is Frederick Douglass. Awesome. A lot of people in, the Afrocentric community, they talk about this guy, John Hanson. John Hanson was the first president of the Continental Congress.
Right.
Which is wrong. The individual who they are identifying is John Hanson, who was born April 14th, 1721, and died November 15th, 1783. He was a Maryland delegate. The picture that they use is a daguerreotype of John Hanson, the black man in Liberia. And Liberia was set up by the American Colonization Society.
Okay.
So these are two different individuals.
They're two different individuals?
Two different. One John Hanson was white, the other John Hanson was
lying.
black, and individuals conflated these two, their life, and they put this black guy up here with the daguerreotype, which is a late 19th century, mid 19th century invention.
Okay.
And the other guy has a painting from
poor guy,
the 18th century, right?
That's awesome.
So in 1848, Douglass received one vote to be nominated as the first black United States presidential candidate during the National Liberty Party Convention, June 14th through 15th in 1848, Buffalo, New York. 1872, Douglass was nominated as a vice president of the United States during the Equal Rights Party Convention.
Cool.
He was to run with Victoria Woodhull, who was nominated as the president.
Wow.
Frederick Douglass declined the nomination.
Okay.
In 1888, Frederick Douglass received one vote from the Kentucky delegation at the Republican Convention in Chicago.
Okay. Go Kentucky.
Go Kentucky, right? One of the things I found interesting was a speech by John Mercer Langston. He was at the 9th annual session of the Grand Fount United Order of True Reformers, a black mutual aid society that devolved into a black economy.
Howard grad. Sorry, I have to plug.
HU. So, John Mercer Langston, U.S. Congressman from Virginia, who has served as Dean of Howard University Law School and interim president of Howard University from 1873 to 1875. He identified the success and promise of the first black bank and the rising race pride and political participation of African Americans. Quote, "Here we have the first Negro bank in the country in Virginia. I want Virginia to produce the most magnificent type of manhood because it is from Virginia that the South was peopled with Negro slaves. The Negro cannot be kept down. It was first tried by hanging Turner and next John Brown. The Negro is aspiring to be the president of banks, and if not watched closely, he will aspire to be president of these United States. The time will come when to elect a white man to any office, the Negro must be compromised with.
Ooh.
We can't judge the Negro. We are going on." John Mercer Langston, 1889. And 5 years later, you have George Edwin Taylor, son of a slave, ran for the president as the candidate of the National Negro Liberty Party, sometimes known as the National Liberty Party, in 1904.
Nice.
1968, Dick Gregory, Freedom and Peace Party. 1972, we have the great Shirley Chisholm, who is best known for becoming the first black congresswoman in 1968 representing New York State in the U.S. House of Representatives
Yep.
for 7 terms.
She was awesome.
She went on to run for the 1972 Democratic nomination for the presidency. 1984, something that I remember very well. Jesse Jackson mounted a nationwide campaign for president of the United States, running as a Democrat. In 1988, Jackson ran the second presidential campaign. This time, his success in the past made him more credible, and he was better financed and better organized. Jackson's presidential runs created the electoral body that would ensure Barack Obama's victory. The 1980s was also the rise of the blackish political figures that distanced themselves from the civil rights movement, played on neoconservative ideas, and appealed to a traditional white middle-class base. 2004, Alan Keyes. And in 2008, Peniel Joseph in his Dark Days, Bright Nights, From Black Power to Barack Obama. In this book, he does not gray over Obama being a usurper of the organic black political organization and civil rights tradition. From announcing his candidacy in the old state house of Illinois amidst predominantly white faces and his victory in the Iowa caucus, Obama attempted to appeal to white Americans by stressing commonalities over differences, unity over division, and the potential for racial reapproachment over race war. 2008, we get Barack Obama. 2012, Herman Cain. 2016, Ben Carson. So
Right.
this is the tradition of African Americans setting their sights on the White House, a house that was built under
By slaves.
slavery by slaves.
Right. So, with all that being said, we all acknowledge the fact that President Obama, though he was our first black president, he was not a descendant of our society's culture of black Americans.
Of those Africans who were a part of the 1790 constitutional experiment. No, he was not.
And so I think because of that, not anything against him as a child of a Kansas person and a Kenyan person. It's just that the moments where we wish that he would represent us better, fuller, stronger, he didn't have that innate ability to begin with.
So you're trying to say
And,
he wasn't like attached? He wasn't.
It wasn't his legacy to play out. That's the end of the day. That's the truth. If anything, yes, we had 8 years of Barack Obama, but we did not have 8 years of the culmination of all of our struggle to ascend to common life, and that is that's the difficulty that we don't want to admit to. Where a lot of people are still struggling, a lot of people wonder why they don't feel whole is because we are still incomplete. And when it comes to, let's talk about your boy Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson in 84 before that he used to be against abortions. And in order to get that Democrat money,
Of course.
he ended up being pro-choice.
Of course.
And so again, like throughout the 80s and 90s, we have a lot of our black leaders, a lot of our black politicians turning away from conservative principles,
traditional community values for this
to get that
mainstream.
money.
Yeah,
To
yeah.
get that money. So where are we left? Where do we go from here? That's
Yeah.
the issue.
I mean, one of the things that Peniel Joseph also identifies is black people projecting an experience on Barack Obama in response to Hillary Clinton attacking him. Because one of the things that we do see is that Jackson, in the 80s, he won South Carolina. So Bill Clinton, he sort of remarked it within the same way about Barack Obama. So after this attack by the Clintons, black people said, hold on, we're going for him. So it's very interesting.
Well, Jesse, don't forget Jesse's hot mic moment. Remember that?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. I understand this hot mic moment.
He wasn't about the
and then now
President
looking
Obama.
back on it, like to a certain degree, I'm starting to see what he was talking about because there's a certain tradition at the end of the day that did not culminate.
Well, not only that, it's a birthright. At the end of the day, you feel this innate sense. It's a spirit that moves you specifically.
Yeah.
You know where it's coming from because you're getting to learn it more and more every day, all day. But even if you don't know the names of all the wonderful Black leaders from the 19th century,
Right.
there is a spirit within us that boils up when it needs to. And if you don't have it, you don't have it. It's nothing against anyone, but because we are in this iterative process of creating a free society and making sure that, we have a more perfect union, fundamentally, it is the role of the American citizen, regardless of what their color is. The American citizen is the one who's supposed to forge the way forward through immigration, yes, through legal immigration, and making sure that people get sort of in tune with that American experience and that spirit.
To be a part of the social fabric
It's
of.
also amazing, but you cannot take away from people who were born into that innate sense.
And lay down the foundation for others to benefit from.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So one of the things that because one of the things that I always tell people, the optics of Obama
Oh, yeah.
was great. The Obama White House, the optics, the culture, all of that was great.
No, don't forget now, before we go, I'm not trying to bash President Obama at all, but don't forget.
Yeah.
I think the biggest achievement really was, again, Michelle Obama and the two girls. Having a Black family and having Ms. Robinson, the grandmother of, in that White House, that was definitely something that was extremely inspirational, aspirational. The complete family, complete Black family, growing up, thriving in the most powerful house in the world. I mean, that image in itself, I think a lot of people kind of like allowed the lack of connection that President Obama had because they had a connection to Michelle. To this day, women, oh my goodness, they still got bags with her face on it. You know what I mean?
And that's what a lot of people say, that Michelle Obama authenticated Barack Obama's Black experience.
Right.
So as a segue back into the theme of the show,
Oops, sorry.
Stedman as the first husband.
Are they even married though? I don't even know. They've been partners and special friends for so long. I think it's really gonna be Gail, but that's okay.
Well, until next time.